The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable recent programs. Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Park Place Lanes here in Windham. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and welcome to the brand new season of Candlepin Stars and Strikes here on the Winds. Our 8th season here on Stars and Strikes, and this one promises to be even more exciting than ever. We have some big news to share with you a little later on if you haven't heard already. But first things first, Dan, welcome back after the long summer, and we're set to get it started again.
Well, I'm excited to get going like you are, like the bowlers are, and again, we start that quest for the Tournament of Champions, and it hasn't been talked about too much, but as we get into the season, the excitement will start building.
All right, let's talk about our bowlers for this first show. Of course, we begin with 5 brand new bowlers and a 4-week series. The winner of the 4-week series will, as Dan mentioned, qualify for the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. So let's meet our number 5 seed. First from Ashburnham, Massachusetts, Joe Ouellette.
Okay, and Joe's been with us one other time, and he carries an average of 125, a high single of 208, and a high triple of 471.
Joe has been with us on a previous occasion here on Stars and Strikes, but it was quite some time ago, so he's happy to be back for certain. And he'll be facing our number 4 seed in this particular ladder series from Manchester, New Hampshire, Kevin Davis.
Kevin was on us with the mixed doubles and is yet to lose. He's 4-0. He averages a 126. Another great high single of 201, 463 for a high triple.
All right, as always, over the summer, Dan takes very good care of the bonus ball contest money, and he has turned over to me a check for $80, which will be in the contest at the end of this week's show. Of course, we also have prize money at stake for the bowlers as they move up the ladder. And also we want to tell you about Stars and Strikes doubles, which will immediately follow Stars and Strikes here on the Winds at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We'll tell you more about that and get this match started right after we take this first time out. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, once again, welcome back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes as we start our new season. The lineup for today, as you see, number 5, Joe Ouellette, and number 4, Kevin Davis. Next week, Dave Richards is in to face the winner. In 2 weeks, number 2 seed Bob Caleri will stop by, and in 3 weeks, Peter Flynn is our number 1 seed, and he was in our Tournament of Champions to end last season. But right now, to start us all off in the new year, Joe Ouellette from Ashburnham, Mass. Joe's been waiting a long time for this appearance on Stars and Strikes.
Well, he's got a decent spare lead, 1, 3, 6, and 8. Looks like he lost his balance on the approach. Really standing right up straight when he releases that ball. It's like a bowler to get down as low as he can. That was better.
A 9 to start for Joe. Joe was here one other time, and that was December 15th, 1985, when he lost a very tough match by 9 pins to Bob Mazer. And he's been waiting ever since to get back, and he's finally made it.
Off target to the left. Both bowlers, when they're warming up, they look real loose and throwing a good ball, but something happens in the first few boxes when the lights go on and we tell them, okay, this is for real.
Couple of 9s for Joe. And that will bring up Kevin Davis. This is actually Kevin's first appearance with us in singles. As Dan mentioned at the top of the show, he was paired with Carol Downey in a mixed doubles tournament here a couple of years ago. And they came from the number 4 seeded spot and won it all. Won 4 straight matches. We're all very excited here on Stars and Strikes about the advent of our new program, which will begin right after we finish this show. At 1 o'clock this afternoon here on the Winds, Stars and Strikes doubles. As of right now, we don't know who the bowlers will be, but we can tell you it'll be 3 strings in the doubles format that you've enjoyed so much when we've had our mixed doubles show in the past.
I'm sure we'll see some of the same faces. The qualifications are completely separate, so you could see them with us right now, and at 1 o'clock you might see some of the same bowlers, but a few rule changes, but that's not one of them. It's 2 separate roll-offs and has no connection with one show or the other, so everybody's eligible.
And we will also be having a doubles tournament of champions at the end of the year. The 2 shows will run simultaneously, and in the spring we'll have Tri-State Megabucks tournaments of champions in both programs as Joe Ouellette breaks the ice and gets that first mark up on the board in the 3rd.
One change we do have in the singles shows that everybody is eligible. That means women and as well as men can compete in the same roll-off. So.
And you know it'll happen before too long. That we'll have a woman qualify in the top 5, and she will compete on the same equal footing with the men.
Well, we've got some out there that could do it, I know.
Just a 2 fill on the spare for Joe Ouellette, so that in essence negates the effect of the spare as he gets 20 for the 2. Kevin Davis now looking for his first mark.
Just a matter of time. Both bowlers start opening up a little bit.
And how about that? The pins change position. That was the 9 pin that is now to the left of the 5 pin. Do we call it the 8 pin now because it's closer to the 8 pin spot?
5 and 8.5, or 5 and 7.5. And he plays the wood effectively for the spare, and his first mark matches the mark already in the 3rd by Joe Ouellette. Now he's going to hope his fill is better than Joe's. It looks better.
But a tough leave. It'll be the 2, the 4, and the 6.
He'll try to split the 2 and the 4, or possibly come inside, but going for the split, too far left.
And a 9. So Kevin Davis has an early 5-pin advantage as Joe Ouellette steps back up.
Oh, pretty good.
He's starting to get it back on target now.
Looked like a pretty good ball in the 1-2 pocket, but leaves himself the 5, 7, and 8, and a tough piece of wood out in front. Now let's see. He needs a clear shot at the 5 pin to give him a chance of making this. He'll try to pinch the 5 in the wood at the same time. Hopefully the 5 will jump into the 8 and then eventually the 7. By clipping the wood, he might get some action off the right sidewall. Let's see. No, he's too far left, and he threw his hands up. He knew as soon as he let the ball go, it wasn't on target.
Coming up at the end of the show, $80 in our bonus ball contest. A reminder that if your card and it's drawn matches the number of pins that fall in the bonus ball, you will win not only the jackpot, but you will also win a set of brand new bowling balls from Paramount Industries in Medway, Mass. The bowler also wins a pair of bowling balls in the event, or rather a set of bowling balls in the event of a match. And if your card is drawn and your number doesn't match, you win the TV50 NHCBA desk pen from the NNR Trophy Company. And Joe Ouellette extracts himself from a tough split.
Well, he started out with a 1-5, and he was able to work it out for a 10. And very nearly converted it for the spare. 2 open frames for Kevin Davis to work on, already leading by 5.
Kevin throws the ball very hard. Really whips that right arm around. Plays it from the extreme right corner of the lane. And he converts it for the spare.
Just caught the head pin, was light enough, and scrambled those 6 pins. His second mark of the match. And like his opponent Joe, 2 on the spare. So no one seems to want to take charge of the match early.
And the lead is still 5. Joe Ouellette from Ashburnham, Mass. Joe is self-employed as a heating contractor, has 2 children, Christine and Joey.
Looking at the four horsemen left, right, I should say. 1, 3, 6, 10. Looks good going down. Actually, the wood cost him that shot. The ball didn't carry on through for the 6-10 like it normally does, and I think the wood deflected it.
Already mentioned Tri-State Megabucks, of course, our presenting sponsor here on Stars and Strikes and for Stars and Strikes doubles. I want to welcome them back for another season. We've enjoyed the association and look forward to another year working with the folks at Tri-State Megabucks. And also we want to acknowledge our two participating sponsors for this Stars and Strikes series, Somerville Lumber.
Oh, no luck there.
And Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan in Salem, New Hampshire. And we're going to have Francis Stanwood go down and check that piece of wood. It's right in front of the 7-pin, and looks like it might perhaps be out of play. And it is. Francis making his debut on Stars and Strikes. Very careful to watch his head. He's got it down. He's got it.
He's got it. He shouldn't step on that ball return, though, because we almost lost a lob line judgment. Another ball came back. Francis is, he was as nervous as the bowlers, I think.
Kevin Davis now. $8 for Kevin. I believe I said earlier that Kevin's from Manchester. He actually lives in Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
You wouldn't miss that opportunity. Mid-season form. Kevin works for Pepsi Cola.
Very nearly cut the 3 into the 7. He had the 3, 6, 7 up. All of a sudden, Joe Ouellette had a 10 and a 9. He's going to gain a few in count. So the lead is a mere 2 pins for Kevin Davis through 8, well below their averages. Just a matter of time.
Well, that time Joe Ouellette was on the right. He had problems leaving the ball off to the left earlier, so he's done something to try and correct that apparently, and he's got the 1-7-10. With wood still moving.
It looks like if he's on the head pin, the 10 pin should go. The way that wood is angled, and 7 pin should, well, again, but he's right up straight when he almost looks like he's having trouble with the approach. Get his feet planted on front of him, and he's slipping up there a little bit. And most bowlers think if you're having trouble on the approach, if you stand up straight, it even compounds the problem. The best thing to do is, there's a strike. A slow one, but it's still a strike. As I started to say, standing up, your momentum is going forward. By standing up, you kind of compound the problem. If you get down lower, you lower the center of gravity over your sliding foot, and you'll come to a smoother stop. But most people, because they're losing their balance, think you know, they're going to fall if they do that. But I think it would help. 2, 4, 7 left for Joe. And a pretty good finish.
And let's see. Nope, you won't get that extra pin. It'll be a 104 for Joe Ouellette. And he has forced Kevin Davis to mark to match that score. Half Worcester left. When Kevin and Carol Downey combined for that mixed doubles tournament win a couple of years ago, they beat a lot of outstanding bowlers in that series. Roger Bowden and Debbie Regan, Steve Vadney and Penny Brady, Jack Ray and Joanne Vandiver, and then Roland Hood and Vi Byron in the championship match. Big 9 drop for Kevin.
Everything but the 5. First test Kevin will have for a single pin, for a spare.
And it looks like the wood may be a problem. He'll have to wait. That cap is angled at him, so it could be a problem. Nope.
He was able to carry him off the second piece of wood, the wood farther to the left, and kind of just glance the ball off that right into the 5-pin.
Third mark for Kevin, all spares.
Those of you who are league bowlers in any NHCBA house, I have some exciting news for you too coming up. We'll mention that during the second game.
Oh, another 2-fill. That's 3 2-fills for the 2 bowlers on spares in that first game. So Kevin will have to settle for a 98, and Joe Ouellette will take a 6-pin advantage into our middle string. Dan will have that information for you, and we'll also have our bonus ball contest address coming up. That'll be right after this word. Don't go away. We'll be right back. At the end of this week's show. Kevin Davis start us off in the middle game, trailing by 6.
Just hoping that 7-pin would fall forward for the strike. He leaves himself the 4 and the 7. And he converts that for a spare. Gave the bowlers a pep talk, Doug. It'll be all right. This both bowlers considerably under their averages, but
well, it's opening day. Everybody's understandably a little
right. Still in spring training.
That's right.
Now, there's a good example of bowlers either not being able to read the lane conditions or didn't allow enough for it. I think Kevin, he really turned that ball over and the ball broke. Right now, there's a lot of lane finish, lane oil on the lanes. It's an oil they put on the lanes to preserve the wood and condition the wood. And your ball will slide a lot. So if you're not used to that, if you throw a big hook, the ball's going to slide. It's going to go straighten out on you. So you're going to have to shoot almost directly at the pins sometimes. Joe trying to get 2 or 3 more and get out of town, get over on lane 31.
Joe had 2 marks in that first game. Spare and a strike. And he may have a shot at one here if that wood comes up for him. Well, the head pin going down makes it a little tougher.
Wood came up, but he didn't want the head pin to go down. You can see him shaking his head there a little bit. 2, 4, and 10. Now the wood's coming up again. The farther up it comes, the better off it's going to be for him. I don't think it came up far enough for him to use it. Going to try to split the 2 and the 4.
He lost it, and he knew it. Just slipped it off to the left. Next week, our number 3 seed, Dave Richards, will be coming in. The bottom 4 seeds in this ladder have all been here before, but have made limited appearances here on Stars and Strikes. Our number 1 seed, Peter Flynn, of course, has been here many times.
I remember him. He's left-hander, isn't he?
Yes, he'll look familiar. Has a lot of our scoring records. Spare for Kevin in the third.
1, 4, 7, and converts that with the help of the wood in between the 1 and the 4. You just see him right on the head pin, and the wood takes the 4, 7. Second mark of this string, and back on the head pin. Oh, he kicked out the 6 and 10, and he gives himself another spare leave, 2 and 7. Now here's a situation where you, oh no, he's got to play the 2 pin. Is liable to go right straight to the wall on him now. Yep, and in front of the 7 pin. That's all because of the angle of the wood that was leaning up against it from behind.
Well, Kevin has taken the lead with these marks, so it's up to Joe to see if he can match them. No, the 1-5. That's the second time he's done it.
Usually at Park Place lanes, that doesn't usually happen. You're on the head pin, you usually scramble quite a few. Now the 3 and 9 go out. So he's thrown 2 balls, hit the object pin that he was shooting at both times. He's got 4 pins. Bit of bad luck.
7 for Joe.
Tough 7 box for Joe.
And all of a sudden, Kevin Davis has a 13-pin lead.
Back on the head pin again is Joe, and just can't seem to get that legitimate spare leaf, although let's see where the wood's going to end up.
Well, that hit, though, Dan, was more like what you were talking about. It was just off center on the head pin, and instead of getting a
1-5.
Yeah, it's a little better, although not much.
Going to play the red line on this wood, and he was a little high. I think if he had it on the red line, the ball might have carried him off and got the 10-pin for him. Whether or not that angle would have carried the other 2 pins remains to be seen, but works it out for a 10.
We'll take a timeout. Kevin Davis has taken the lead as we approach the halfway point of our premiere show in the new season of Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We'll take a break and come right back. Don't go away. Kevin Davis has the lead as he steps up for box number 5, game 2.
I think Kevin senses the lane conditions because he's really turning the ball over now. That one broke sharp at the end. It was quite far to the left.
The 1-3-8-9, and it does not go. He'll be left with the 1 and 8. And through the middle.
If we could get a good shot at Kevin's nice try.
Wow, leaving the 2-pin.
When he holds the ball up. Notice, well, that time he didn't take any time. The next time he comes up, watch his thumb. That ball rests in the palm of his hand. I always, when I do the instruction, I always like to have that thumb rolled up so there's a space between the palm of your hand and the ball. It gives you a better fingertip control. I'm not going to argue with Kevin's 120-something average, but it's interesting to see it. Leads you to believe that he puts a lot of spin on the ball because of that also. Oh boy, I'll tell you, if it wasn't for bad luck, no luck at all for Joe. 4 horsemen plus the 8-pin cleared the 4 horsemen out. Never came close to getting the 8.
By the way, we want to apologize to those of you who tuned in last week at 12 noon, probably expecting to see the championship show of last spring's Tri-Strait Megabucks Tournament of Champions in our summer rerun schedule. The show was preempted, of course, by the Star Trek Marathon, which we hope you enjoyed, but those of you who were wondering how that turned out if you missed it the first time.
Oops.
Nope. Like you said.
Yeah. He almost made the cut shot, and then I thought, well, maybe Justice is coming back and he's going to get a break, but he didn't topple that last pin over. Yes, I think Spock won the Tournament of Champions.
But it was very close.
It was very close.
Pat Pay did, in fact, make it 4 straight wins and take the Tournament of Champions last week.
Yeah, that's his nickname, Spock.
That's right.
Pat Spock Pay. He will be known as that. You know, remember the Heidi game? Pat Pay's going to remember the Star Trek match.
Of course, that show was originally aired last spring, but we, as a rule, re-air the Tournament of Champions right before we start the new season in the fall. And as I mentioned, Pat Pay gets the $1,500 first prize. He beat Joe Ashline 388 to 317 last week. Pat got off to a big start in the first couple of games and had a big lead and never really had to worry. So for those of you who are keeping track, just wanted to let you know. And of course, come next spring, we'll have another Tournament of Champions. 2 of them, in fact. 1 in singles and 1 in doubles. Again, our new program, Stars and Strikes Doubles, immediately follows this show at 1 o'clock here on the Winds. So keep that in mind. Every Sunday from now on, it'll be 2 hours of Candlepin bowling here on the Winds. From noon to 1, of course, we'll be here on Stars and Strikes, and then from 1 to 2, Stars and Strikes Doubles.
There we go. It's a matter of time for Joe. He's been on the head pin and just can't seem to get that break. And even then, he would look like he was going to be left with a split.
He was almost too full on the head pin again.
Off target. Those of you who are NACBA League bowlers, keep this week in mind, October 20th through the 26th. That is Sweeps Week. And that's a very exciting tournament that the NACBA membership initiated last year. It was a huge success. There's $2,000 in added prize money, or $2,000 in guaranteed prize money. And it's a let me see if I catch up on the scoring here. I can't talk and score at the same time, obviously. No, I still didn't do it right. Hang with me, folks.
Meantime, Kevin Davis in the 9th. Almost.
Getting back to that sweeps week, this is a unique tournament that you can qualify for the tournament first and then decide whether or not you want to participate in it. And how it works is that you bowl and qualify while you're bowling in your league. And it's high single, high scratch single within your league. And if you're the highest in your league, you'll qualify, you'll be asked to bowl, and you have to make up your mind whether or not you want to. And if you don't, they take the next high single in line. And they do that each game. And you know, I could go into depth of the tournament, but it is the finals are 100% handicapped. The ratings are involved. It's just a real fun time. So remember, we'll be qualifying all the league bowlers between the week of October 20 through 26. So make sure you watch for that in your nearest NACBA house. I'll be mentioning it next week and the week after, just to remind you. But I'm sure those proprietors will be on their loudspeakers, on the intercoms, and reminding you about it. It's kind of an exciting thing, so don't miss it.
That is kind of an interesting concept.
Qualify scratch for the singles, and then it's handicapped after that.
So, oh, big spare for Joe Ouellette in the 9th. As he
right.
will retake the lead here in the match.
You see the slow-mo's right in the 1-3 pocket. The head pin goes down, takes the 4-7. Ball does the rest of the damage, and he's off target, but gets away with 5.
More importantly, reestablishes his lead, although it's only 4 pins. Joe will maintain a slim lead as we move to the 3rd game.
Well, if you like big scores, you probably are a little disappointed, but if you like close matches, you've got one.
Well, this one is tight. Kevin Davis gets a 1-pin edge in this middle game, cutting the lead to 5. 2:05 for Kevin Davis, 2:10 for Joe Ouellette, and we will be back with the 3rd and deciding game here on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Well, we have 1 game to go, and this thing is far from decided. There's the story for Joe Ouellette. And he's right in on the pocket that time. Looked like he might even have let up on that ball just a little bit to kind of let it work a bit.
Well, if you know, he throws a curve too, or a hook, or whatever you want to call it, and maybe he feels that, well, let me slow it down, let it try to grab the lane a little more and break back for me, because if he misses it, usually to the right. So maybe he's trying that approach. 3 games, it's tough, boy, to make a drastic change like that, because a lot of times you let up on the ball, you lose the accuracy that you did have. And again, he's left with a 9-10 piece of wood he's going to have to try to use. Oh, what a great shot.
Nice shot for Joe.
Wow. Didn't have much room for error there.
And he had to wait a while, too, before shooting at that one.
I didn't think he could turn the wood enough, but it's a great shot. It's liable to get him going. Got him going in the 6 fill. 4-7, 6-10 left. And again, he's on the head pin. Another tough shot, either cap the wood or go after the 10 pin and try to clip the wood low. That's what he's trying to do.
Nope. Oh, wow. Kevin Davis off to the left. Just to recap the final finishes in that Tournament of Champions last spring, in case you missed any of it. Pat Pay, the winner, winning 4 straight matches as Kevin Davis clears out a nice 10 bucks. Pat Pay was the number 4 seed. He beat Tim Lipke, Paul Berger, Gary Carrington, and Joe Ashline. That's a pretty good lineup.
I guess so.
And Pat wins it all. Second place with Joe Ashline, who came in as the number 1 seed. Third place, Gary Carrington. Fourth place, Paul Berger. Fifth place, Tim Lipke. And sixth place, Peter Flynn.
That was a
And
lob.
that was a lob.
That was a lob.
For Kevin Davis, so you can take those 2 pins away.
That was a lob
That
also.
was also.
So I believe that's a 6 box.
Yes. Joe Ouellette now with the lead.
The 2, the 5, and the 10. As long as you got a TV in front of you, it sounds awful, but he's got a piece of wood that was a... Unless you lost your picture and say he's never going to make that shot, but it wasn't quite there, you see. It wasn't difficult as it sounded. As long as he was on the 2-pin, he had a shot.
And a nice fill this time for Joe and a chance for another.
Oh, boy. You'd think if he was on that pin with the dead wood next to the 2-pin, it would have slid easily into the 5, but he cut it clean, never touched the 5. And Joe increases his lead to 14.
Plus he's got another mark up there, so Kevin has to be a little concerned at this point.
The 1, the 2, and the 7.
Big spare for Kevin.
Just splitting the 1 to 2, and there goes the 7.
6 marks for Kevin Davis, all spares. And he gets a 7 on this one. After Kevin finishes this box, we're going to break away for a quick message. We'll come back and finish this match here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Right now, Joe Ouellette has a 16-pin lead. We have 6 frames to go, and we'll be back with him here on Stars and Strikes after these messages. Don't go away. Joe Ouellette trying to nurse the lead to a win here.
Final 6 frames, long ways to go. Well, first time he missed the head pin and got a break. 1 and 2 left for Joe. And
Nope.
again, the 2-pinner, and he picks out the front one.
Take the 10 box. 6 marks for each bowler. Joe Ouellette has 2 strikes. Everything else has been spares. That ball broke into the pocket pretty nicely for him, but it's still a split. The 2, 4, 10.
Gonna go after the 2 and the 4, trying to split it. If he catches the wood, he might give some help too. In between, doesn't get the cut shot, but wants the pin. Well, Kevin Davis is really down by 2 marks at this point, trailing by 16. He's gonna have 2 open frames to face in the 5th and 6th.
The deficit, as you see, 16. Kevin coming up just a little bit short of the head pin that time.
4 horsemen plus the 9. 1, 2, 4, 7, and 9. Gotta hurry. Flush on the head pin. So he's in jeopardy of losing a few more in count. He's opposite the 10 box. And he's not going to, though.
Oh, nice 10.
So the lead remains at 16, facing another open frame. You see, just catches that 9 pin.
That's a shot he would. Oh, there's a big strike. I was about to say that's the shot you would really remember if it would have been for a spare.
That time Kevin crossed over in the 1-2 pocket and was able to trip that 6-pin, last pin to go down. So it's a strike in the 6th for Kevin. Joe finally trips out the 5-pin. Looked like he was going to left with a 4-5-7, but not an easy shot. The wood's rolling back. I think if he just drives the ball straight through, he got a piece of wood behind it.
Yep.
And he does. I would say this is a crucial fill for Joe. Off target, only a 4. Of course, anytime you have a strike working, Park Place Lanes is noted for one of the faster houses in the state, although the scores aren't showing it this far today. Anytime you get 1 strike up, there's always that possibility of throwing the double. Oh, what a 10. That's a great out. Joe has continued to pin very, very well.
That could be important. Close match. All right, big spot here for Kevin Davis. He trails by 16, less whatever he puts on this strike. Again, comes up just a little bit short. But he's got a shot here with the wood.
1, 2, 9, 10. Got to be concentrating on the 1 and the 2 to give himself a shot at making the 9 and 10. Oh,
wow.
Right around the 10-pin.
Wow. Well, he has cut the lead to 7, but of course that will immediately go up by a few because Joe had a mark here in the 7th. He'll gain 4 back, so the lead is now 11, as you see in the lower left-hand corner.
11, he's still at least 1 mark away. So I'd like to put one up here in the 8th. Again, crossing over to 1-2. This time he's a little lighter, but hang on. A lot of possibilities here.
A lot of wood. He knocked down 5. 3 of them are still down there.
Everything but the 10. Very important to pin. Of course, Joe is thinking, I want to keep it in the double figures anyways and make him throw at least 1 mark and possibly 2 if I can pin well. So the lead is now 12. Oh, that's a big strike.
Wow.
Looked like he was going to be left with a 2-4-7. The 2 went down, and then finally the 4 and 7. And here you see it. Wood comes off the right side wall. There goes the 2, 4, and then the 7.
Oh, wow.
Boy. Wow, good thing it was a strike. This is a big fill. You can push it so Kevin has to get 2 big marks.
Bails out of it with a 7 on the strike. And a 9 for a 123. So a 333 for Joe Ouellette. Now the question is that enough?
Yeah, 128 is a tie. And he's right now at 110 clips, so he needs 2 big marks. Oh, held on to that one. Pulled it way left to the 4-pin. Really needs this.
No, now it's going to come down to a double strike in the 10th. That's what Kevin will have to have. And now it's over.
It's over. That was a big 3rd ball, missing all those pins. Even with a triple strike now, the win would be Y1. So Joe survives a scare in the first match of the new season, and next week he'll be facing the likes of Dave Richards.
Spare for Kevin. That's Kevin's 8th mark. Each bowler with 8 marks in the match. And a big fill, but just a little bit too late for Kevin Davis. A 115 and a 3-string total of 320. So Joe Ouellette comes up with the win. He will advance. Dave Richards, our number 3 seed, will be his opponent next week. Coming up, we'll take a break and then have the bonus ball contest for $80. Don't go away. We're coming right back. We're back on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, our first show in the books for the new year, and as you mentioned, not a high score, but certainly a close match. Went right down to the final 2.
Oh, down the finals, well, really 6 boxes. It was anybody's game, and Joe happened to come up with those marks when he needed them, and that's the name of the game. But I'm sure Kevin will be back with us.
All right, let's meet our 2 bowlers. First of all, let's call up our runner-up for the show, Kevin Davis. Kevin, come on up. We have a a check for you here. It just wasn't working for you today, but slide right in here so we can get you on camera. There's a check for you for $100. We'll have a runner-up plaque for you as well. Sometimes they go and sometimes they don't, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
Just
maybe,
kind of a.
Maybe I'll receive the plaque this time.
Well, one of the we'll send it to you, even though it was kind of a tough day for you. But it was one of those days when you just never seemed to be able to get anything going. Yeah.
Yep, didn't hit the head pin. Can't do much if you don't get a spare leave, you know.
Well,
Hard to kick them over.
It was right there at the end, and unfortunately it didn't go your way, but we hope you won't wait so long before coming back to see us again.
Not.
All right.
Thanks
Very much, Kevin. Kevin Davis from Ware, New Hampshire. And now we'll have Joe Ouellette come up and roll our bonus ball. We're looking for an $80 match this time. So we hope we have your postcard here, and Dan Murphy will draw out what we hope will be a winning card here in just a second. Well, Joe punches out with a 4.
His day's been going most of the day. Hit the head pin. You should stay off the head pin.
Not a match for Henry Dano. Come on in, Joe. We'll get a chance to talk here in just a second. Henry from Manchester, New Hampshire. Henry Dano guessed an 8. So Henry, you'll be receiving the WNDS NHCBA pen set as a consolation prize. And, of course, that means the jackpot will be going up to $90 next week. And this man will be here next week. Slide right in here, Joe, so we can get you on camera. We got a close one there, but you managed to get a couple marks when you needed them.
Yeah, it felt good to finally win one on TV.
Is it a question of, we talked a lot about adjusting to the lane conditions, and is that what you kind of found yourself doing during the match?
Well, Kevin and I were talking, and we had a lot of trouble today. The alleys are a little slippery, and the pins were sliding around a lot, and neither one of us adjusted to put a high score up, but enough to win.
Well, you got that first win, which I know must make you feel good, and now next week you'll have Dave Richards coming in.
It should be good. Hope it's a better match next week. High score.
Well, we'll be looking for you then. Thanks very much, Joe. Appreciate it. Congratulations to Joe Ouellette, who gets that first win. He waited a long time, almost 6 years, to get that first win here on Stars and Strikes after his last appearance. Let's take a look at the ladder now and bring you up to date on what will happen in the weeks to come here on Stars and Strikes. Joe Ouellette with that first win today. Next week, as I mentioned, Dave Richards, the number 3 seed, will be coming in. In 2 weeks, Bob Caleri, the number 2 seed, will step in, and then Peter Flynn, the tall left-hander, our number 1 seed with that huge roll-off score of 728. And, of course, a lot of great bowling still to come in this series here on Stars and Strikes. And we want to thank you for joining us on our first show of the new season, but this isn't the only show we have coming up today.
No. Get your sandwiches and your things, and don't go away. We will be right back in a very few minutes.
That's right. Stay tuned, because we'll have our season premiere of Candlepin Stars and Strikes doubles. And as of right now, we don't know who the bowlers will be, but you'll know in just a few minutes when we know, because we'll be back with our premiere show of Stars and Strikes doubles in just a couple of minutes. And, of course, next Sunday at 12 noon, we're right back here on Stars and Strikes as Joe Ouellette tries to make it 2 in a row against Dave Richards. Until then, for Dan Murphy, Doug Brown, so long from Park Place Lanes.